Before you listen, if you enjoy the stories and want to hear more, then please consider subscribing. Most of you listening aren't subscribed, so please take this time to subscribe. Turn on notifications so you'll never miss a story and be the first to hear. You'll also be supporting me. Thank you. I still remember the shock I felt when I saw Ben's name pop up with a friend request on Facebook. Ben Peters, my buddy from high school who'd passed away years before from leukemia. We were so close back then, I couldn't believe what I was seeing. At first, I was convinced it must be some twisted prank. Maybe someone trying to mess with my head by making a fake profile of my dead friend. But the more I looked, the more it seemed legit. The pictures all looked just like Ben. That same goofy grin staring back at me that I remembered from senior year. And the profile said he currently lived in our hometown of Springfield, and even worked at the old movie theater where we used to hang out as kids. Morbid curiosity got the better of me. Against my better judgment, I accepted the request. I had to find out who was behind this bizarre hoax. Right away, a message popped up in my inbox from Ben's account. Just a casual, "Hey man, long time no see." Like we were old pals catching up. I didn't want to respond and give this creep the satisfaction, but I was dying to understand what was happening. So I wrote back, "Ben Peters died from leukemia 5 years ago. Who the hell is this?" The next message sent chills down my spine. It's me. I know it's hard to believe and I can't explain it, but I found a way to reconnect from the other side. There's so much I wanted to tell you before I left. Now I was really freaked out. No one else knew about the long heart-to-heart Ben and I had right before he passed. We stayed up all night in his hospital room reminiscing about high school and talking about the future we'd never get to share. All the plans cut short for road trips and college life. There's no way this could be anyone else messing with me. I cautiously asked for more proof, still half convinced I was being manipulated. But then the messages started coming, revealing private details only Ben would know. Like the time we snuck on the roof of the school to watch a meteor shower and almost got busted by the night janitor, or deeply personal family secrets I'd entrusted to Ben, feelings about my parents' divorce I'd never shared with another living soul. It really was Ben, somehow reaching out to me from beyond the grave. My hands shook as I feverishly typed back responses on my phone. We talked for hours, with Ben explaining how he discovered this supernatural way to communicate across dimensions. How he'd been given one last chance to make amends and set things right with me and other loved ones. I felt overwhelmed, confused, sad, but also grateful. My best friend had found a way to come back to me, even if just for a little while, through the veil of death. The next few weeks were spent chatting endlessly, catching up on all the time we missed. It was profoundly bittersweet, knowing it wouldn't and couldn't last forever. I confided in Ben about problems at my job, struggles in my marriage to my wife Samantha, all the ways my life had changed in the 5 years since we graduated. It felt cathartic and reassuring being able to share it all with my old friend. His advice and humor made me feel better, even if he couldn't physically be here with me. For a time, it was like nothing had changed. But then the tone of our conversation subtly shifted. Ben started asking me to do favors for him that seemed innocent at first, but grew increasingly concerning. He'd request I go to obscure locations around town to take photos or pick up packages left for me. Nothing outright illegal, but it definitely didn't feel right. When I pressed Ben for more details, he would dodge my questions or say it was better if I didn't know the full truth. Things finally came to a head when he asked me to mail a mysterious package to an address in another state. I put my foot down and demanded to know what was really going on. But instead of giving me answers, Ben just sent cryptic warnings saying my life was in danger. That I should skip town and go into hiding. None of it made any sense. I pleaded for the real Ben, my caring friend who I'd grown up with, to come back. The spirit messaging me didn't sound like him at all anymore. My increasingly desperate messages went unanswered for days afterward. I still don't know what to make of the whole eerie saga. Was it really Ben's spirit contacting me from beyond the grave, or some cruel scammer committing elaborate identity theft of my deceased best friend? I may never get the full truth of what happened. I reported the disturbing fake profile and continue waiting and hoping to hear from my real friend again someday. But whatever sinister force was manipulating me those weeks left me shaken and paranoid, glancing over my shoulder wherever I go, still longing for answers about what kind of evil I attracted with that innocent friend request, and if I'll ever get back the Ben I knew. For now, just another unsettling mystery lingering after a message out of the blue from someone I thought was gone forever. I'd never expected to be freaked out by my own Facebook profile. But here I am, heart racing as I scroll through what appears to be a nearly identical clone of my account. Except, the more I dig, the more unsettling differences I notice. It started out at just another Tuesday morning. I shuffled to the kitchen to brew some coffee, then curled up on the couch to catch up on social media. I tapped open Facebook and absentmindedly scrolled through my feed. A few posts in, I realized something was off. The profile pic looked like me, but grainier. My smile was warped, eyes glazed over. Uneasy, I clicked to expand it. My stomach dropped when I saw the full image, a distorted funhouse mirror version of my face. I frantically scrolled down, scanning my recent posts. At first glance, they seemed normal, snippets of my life and jokes, but the tone was slightly more cynical, the humor darker. Sprinkled between posts were strange status updates I never wrote, like, I see you, but you can't see me, and you won't get away that easy. Dread set in as I realized this wasn't my real account. Some stranger had replicated my profile and was impersonating me, posting creepy content and distorted images. And shaking, I desperately clicked through the Imposter account. The About section listed an unfamiliar hometown and job I'd never had. The friends list was full of strangers. All the photos were of me, but altered with chilling effects. Glowing red eyes, contorted limbs, disturbing backgrounds. The more I read, the more unhinged the posts became. Full of cryptic threats, disturbing jokes, and violent imagery. This phantom version of me portrayed a sinister, unbalanced personality, nothing like my real self. I felt violated, my identity hijacked, and twisted into something dark and deranged. In a panic, I reported the fake profile and emailed Facebook support pleading for them to remove it. I warned my family and friends, fearful this freak could message them posing as me. Questions raced through my mind. Who would go through the deeply unsettling effort of stealing my information and photos to create such a warped, elaborate version of my online identity? How long had this imposter account existed without me knowing? Were they accessing my real profile too? I immediately changed my password, but the paranoia clung tight. I became obsessed with scrutinizing my social media presence, examining every post across platforms for signs of manipulation. I found myself compulsively logging into Facebook to check if the creepy clone was still active. No matter how many reassuring messages my friends sent, I couldn't shake the violation I felt knowing this sinister duplicate was lurking online wearing my identity like a mask. A week later, the nightmarish profile was still up. Facebook's lack of response ratcheted my anxiety even higher. In the mirror, I saw the toll the stress was taking. Face gaunt, eyes ringed by dark circles, hair disheveled. I stopped posting on social media altogether, fearful this cyber impersonator could be watching my real account, gathering material for their unsettling facade. Out of desperation, I hired an online security firm to investigate. Their technician combed through the code and metadata behind the duplicate profile, searching for traces of who created it and how. The cold technical jargon in their report only made the profile seem more sinister. Advanced image processing algorithms automated scraping of public records. It seemed the impersonator didn't just manually create a fake profile, but used sophisticated AI and scripts to algorithmically generate a complete replica of my identity, down to the most minute details. The firm determined the original source was an encrypted server routing through black market dark web domains. As chilling as their findings were, the confirmation that this wasn't a targeted personal attack brought me some solace. Just the work of an anonymous sociopathic troll. Still, I wouldn't feel safe until this artificial replica was deleted for good. The clinical security report couldn't capture the true creep factor of seeing my identity distorted through such a cracked funhouse mirror. I became hyper-vigilant about my privacy settings across the web, carefully pruning my online footprint in hopes of denying the impersonator any more source material. Weeks later, Facebook finally removed the disturbing account, claiming it violated their impersonation policies. Relief washed over me, even as I knew the perpetrator was likely still out there somewhere in the digital ether. A part of me wondered if I should just delete my profiles altogether after this invasion, cut social media out of my life. But in the end, I can't let one demented troll drive me off the platforms I genuinely enjoy connecting through. I've taken all the precautions I can for now. With time, hopefully I'll stop feeling that paranoid pit in my stomach every time I log on. I never expected to be freaked out by my own Facebook profile. But here I am, heart racing as I scroll through what appears to be a nearly identical clone of my account. Except, the more I dig, the more unsettling differences I notice. It started out as just another Tuesday morning. I shuffled to the kitchen in my slippers, yawning as I filled up the coffee pot with water. As the rich aroma of fresh brewed coffee filled the kitchen, I curled up on the couch with a cozy blanket, ready to catch up on social media. I tapped open the Facebook app on my phone and absentmindedly scrolled through my feed. A few posts in, I realized something was off. The tiny profile pic looked like me, but grainier and distorted. My smile was warped, eyes glazed over. Uneasy, I clicked to expand it. My stomach dropped when I saw the full image, a twisted funhouse mirror version of my face. I frantically scrolled down, scanning my recent posts. At first glance, they seemed normal, little snippets of my everyday life, and lame attempts at jokes. But looking closer, the tone was slightly more cynical, the humor darker. Sprinkled between mundane posts were strange status updates I never wrote, like, I see you, but you can't see me, and you won't get away that easy. Dread set in as I realized this wasn't my real account. Some stranger had replicated my profile and was impersonating me, posting creepy content and distorted images. Hand shaking, I desperately clicked through the Imposter account, looking for clues. The About section listed an unfamiliar hometown and a job I've never had. The friends list was full of strangers. All the photos were of me, but altered with chilling effects, glowing red eyes, contorted limbs, disturbing backgrounds. The more I read, the more unhinged the posts became. Full of cryptic threats, disturbing inside jokes about stalking and violent imagery. This phantom version of me portrayed a sinister, unbalanced personality, nothing like my cheerful, real self. I felt violated, my identity hijacked and twisted into something dark and deranged. In a panic, I reported the fake profile and emailed Facebook support multiple times, pleading for them to remove it immediately. I frantically called my family and closest friends, warning them about the freaky Imposter account in case it tried to message them posing as me. So many uneasy questions raced through my mind. Who would go through the deeply disturbing effort of stealing my photos and information to create such a warped, elaborate replica of my online identity? How long had this Imposter account existed without me knowing? Were they accessing my real Facebook profile too? I immediately changed my password, but the paranoia clung tight like cobwebs. I became obsessed with scrutinizing my social media presence, examining every post across platforms for signs of manipulation. I found myself compulsively logging into Facebook, checking if the creepy clone was still active. No matter how many reassuring messages my friends sent, I couldn't shake the violation I felt knowing this sinister duplicate was lurking online wearing my identity like a mask. A week later, the nightmarish profile was still up. Facebook's lack of response ratcheted my anxiety even higher. In the mirror, I saw the toll the stress was taking. Face gaunt, eyes ringed by dark circles, hair disheveled. I stopped posting on social media altogether, fearful this cyber stalker could be watching my real account, gathering material for their facade. Out of desperation, I hired an online security firm to investigate the impersonator account. The technician combed through the code and metadata behind the duplicate profile, searching for traces of who created it and how. The cold technical jargon in their report only made the whole thing seem more sinister. Advanced image processing algorithms, automated scraping of public records. It seemed the impersonator didn't just manually create a fake profile, but used sophisticated AI and scripts to algorithmically generate a complete replica of my identity down to the most minute details. The firm determined the original source was an encrypted server routing through black market dark web domains. As chilling as their findings were, the confirmation that this wasn't a targeted personal attack brought me some solace. Just the work of an anonymous sociopathic hacker. Still, I wouldn't feel safe until this artificial replica was deleted for good. The clinical security report couldn't fully capture the true creepiness of seeing my identity distorted through such a cracked, unsettling funhouse mirror. I became hyper-vigilant about my privacy settings across the web, carefully pruning my online footprint in hopes of denying the impersonator any more source material. Nearly a month later, Facebook finally removed the disturbing account, claiming it violated their impersonation policies. Relief washed over me, even as I knew the twisted perpetrator was likely still out there somewhere in the digital ether. A part of me wondered if I should just delete my profiles altogether after this invasion, cut social media out of my life completely. But in the end, I can't let one demented hacker drive me off the platforms I genuinely enjoy connecting through. I've taken all the precautions I can for now. With time, hopefully, I'll stop feeling that paranoid pit in my stomach every time I log on. I changed all my privacy settings to friends only and set up two-factor authentication. Moving forward, I'll be much more careful about what I share publicly online. Though I know I'll never get an explanation, questions still nag at me. 1. Would they hope to gain impersonating me? Were they trying to hurt me? Managing social media feels more treacherous after having my identity so blatantly co-opted. But I refuse to retreat from online life completely out of fear. That would just be letting the troll win. As unsettling as the experience was, I know staying connected matters more. I can't believe this happened. I never thought it would happen to me, but I logged into my Facebook account this morning and realized to my horror that it had been hacked. My heart sank as I scrolled through my profile and saw all kinds of inappropriate posts and messages that I definitely didn't write. It seems the hacker got into my account sometime yesterday evening. I don't log in every single day, so it could have been compromised for hours before I realized it. The first red flag was my profile picture. It had been changed to a vulgar meme that I would never in a million years choose to represent myself. My stomach turned as I clicked through to view my recent activity. The hacker had gone through my entire friends list and sent lewd messages littered with cuss words to all my close friends and family members. I'm absolutely mortified that my grandma, little cousins, and other relatives saw such vile things. This is by far my worst nightmare. But it got even worse. The hacker also went through years of my private messages and publicly screenshotted conversations to share out of context. Some were with my best friend venting about some drama she was going through at the time that was meant to stay between us. Others were inside jokes between friends from years ago that nobody else would understand. Worst of all, they found some old photos I had sent privately to my boyfriend when we were dating long distance in college. I can't believe such intimate moments from my past are now out there for the entire world to see. This is an absolute catastrophe. I am completely violated. Panicked, I immediately changed my password and then spent over an hour frantically going through all of my settings to undo anything the hacker may have modified. I removed the embarrassing profile pic, deleted all the vulgar posts and messages, and tightened up privacy settings as much as possible. I'm fuming that someone took the time to comb through all of my private information and wreak havoc on my online presence. I feel so angry and disgusted that a stranger has seen sides of me only meant for close friends and partners. It's a total invasion of my privacy. The worst part now is going through and apologizing profusely to everyone impacted by the hacker's actions. I explained to my grandma and young cousins that I didn't actually write those horrendous messages. They said they figured as much, but it's still mortifying. My close friends have been understanding, but I still feel guilty. I'm dreading talking to my ex-boyfriend and trying to explain that our old intimate photos were leaked without my consent. I sincerely hope he knows me well enough to know I would never share those willingly. But regardless, it's devastating those moments were violated. I feel so embarrassed and ashamed even though I know I did nothing wrong. I still have no idea how the hacker got into my account in the first place. I've always used complex passwords and been diligent about security. The only potential culprit I can think of is a Facebook contest I entered last week that required logging in through Facebook to submit my entry. Could that third-party site have stolen my credentials? This serves as a grave warning that you can never be too cautious online. I'm going to be much more careful moving forward and think twice before logging in through other sites. I also plan to set up two-factor authentication everywhere I can. Requiring an extra login code may have prevented this disaster. But my Facebook account isn't the only thing I'm worried about. If my login information was compromised, what else could the hacker have access to? As soon as I have time, I'm going to run antivirus scans on all my devices in case of any keyloggers or other malware. I also need to carefully monitor my credit cards and bank accounts for any fraudulent activity just to be safe. Freezing my credit altogether until I get to the bottom of this may be my best bet. This experience has been completely eye-opening, and I'm still shaken up by the violation. I never post anything too private online, but always figured my casual selfies and silly memes were harmless to share publicly. Now I've learned even an innocent social media presence can be used against you in the wrong hands. I'll definitely be more selective about what personal details I put on the internet from here on out once I get my security back in order. With time, I'm hopeful people will forget about this incident as new posts replace the hacker's handiwork. For now, I'm just relieved I caught it before more damage could be done. Time to turn on two-factor authentication everywhere, change every password, and go on a much-needed social media cleanse while I emotionally recover from this traumatic invasion of privacy. I'd never expected accepting a random Facebook friend request to unleash such a bizarre and unsettling situation. It all started when I got notified one morning that some stranger named Mrnightmare wanted to connect. I barely glanced at their sparse profile before accepting, rookie mistake I know. Just a generic profile pic of a dog, location listed as Earth, and a few mutual friends from high school I hadn't talked to in years. Seemed harmless enough at the time. Within minutes of accepting the request, my phone blew up with a barrage of messages from this Mrnightmare character. We're talking dozens of rapid-fire texts giving me overly enthusiastic introductions and bombarding me with a million hyper-specific questions about myself. What bands and movies do I obsess over? What are my weirdest hobbies? Where did I go to elementary and high school? What's my family like? Do I have any pets? This person's life mission was suddenly all about getting to know every intimate detail about me. I tried to respond politely at first, giving brief, surface-level answers about my interests and background. But no matter how vague my replies were, it only seemed to encourage more probing from Mrnightmare. The constant stream of messages asking me to elaborate on mundane aspects of my life showed no signs of slowing down. This complete stranger was acting like we'd been best friends forever within the first hour of connecting online. Over the next few days, the messages from Mrnightmare became more frequent and obsessive. This person clearly had no sense of boundaries or social norms. They started asking extremely personal questions about my job, family relationships, living situation, daily routine, you name it. Mrnightmare wanted my full weekly schedule and a play-by-play of everything I did each day, from what I ate for breakfast to my nighttime skincare regimen. The level of mundane detail they expected was ridiculous for someone I barely knew. It got very weird very fast. Mrnightmare's messages progressed from friendly to downright worshipping. They kept gushing about how perfect and amazing I was, how we had this deep cosmic connection, and were clearly soulmates. This complete stranger built up this whole elaborate fantasy relationship based on basically zero actual interaction. No matter how many times I hinted that I wasn't interested in engaging on that level, Mrnightmare kept insisting we were destined for each other. Things escalated when Mrnightmare somehow got a hold of my phone number and personal email address. I have no clue how they found them, which was concerning enough as it was. But then the barrage of obsessive messages expanded from just Facebook to texts, emails, DMs, and comments all day long. Mrnightmare started addressing me with increasingly affectionate nicknames like Baby and My Love, and their declarations of admiration grew more impassioned by the day. They even recounted detailed dreams they had about me and our imagined future life together. It was utterly delusional. I clearly and firmly stated that I did not share their feelings and asked them to please leave me alone. But this only made Mrnightmare more desperate and melodramatic. They started sending lavish gifts to my home address like flowers, chocolates, and sappy over-the-top love notes on actual parchment sealed with a wax stamp. Some gifts contained very personal information that proved they had been stalking me offline too. Their messages turned pleading and emotional, insisting I just hadn't realized I felt the same way yet. No matter how many times I directly said I wasn't interested, Mrnightmare refused to accept it. They continued professing their undying devotion and waxing poetic about our profound cosmic bond. This person seemed convinced if they just persisted enough in their delusion, I would eventually come around. But in reality, their behavior was just pushing me further away and making me feel unsafe. Things reached a tipping point when Noni20 started calling me at all hours, sometimes 10 to 15 times consecutively if I didn't pick up. It would leave lengthy, rambling voicemails apologizing for bothering me, but reaffirming how much they cared. I never answered the calls since I didn't want to encourage this worrying pattern. When I confronted Noni20 again and firmly told them one final time to stop contacting me altogether, they did not take it well. Their messages became more manic and desperate, alternating between proclaiming their eternal love and demanding to know why I was so cruelly rejecting our destiny. This person refused to hear that I simply did not share or reciprocate their unrealistic feelings. Eventually, I had no choice but to completely block Noni20 on all platforms. I hated having to take that step, but asking them nicely and setting clear boundaries clearly wasn't working. Their actions were making me genuinely concerned for my safety, and I needed to put an end to it. I just didn't feel comfortable having someone so obsessed with me watching my every move online and offline. The whole bizarre saga left me feeling rattled and much more cautious moving forward. I never anticipated an innocent online connection could spiral so quickly into such an unsettling and scary situation. But now I've learned to be extra wary of oversharing with strangers online. You truly never know someone's intentions or how they might perceive the relationship. I'm just grateful I escaped before this particular obsession potentially became dangerous. This wacky encounter taught me protecting privacy and setting firm boundaries early is so important, even if it feels rude at first. You really can't be too safe out there.
Thanks for listening in. If you like these stories and want to hear more, then please subscribe and like and support this new channel. We have more stories for you to listen to.